I'm going to be sharing with you why I am never ever bulking again. Because honestly, bulking made me feel crap mentally and physically. I know there's a lot of hype on social media at the minute about girls building muscle, being a muscle mummy, building your booty. But honestly, I think it's really easy to end up getting caught up in all this to the point we end up losing ourselves, trying to change ourselves to be something that we're not. Guys, I forgot to say there's timestamps included in this video, so you can skip to the part that you're most interested in. From my own experience, I feel like we end up listening to people online that have got completely different bodies to us, that have got completely different genetics, that have won the genetic lottery when it comes to body composition and how easily they build muscle. And we are looking to these people for the answers and copying what they're doing. But in reality, we are never going to get those same results because genetics play a huge factor when it comes to how quickly you build muscle and whereabouts you store fat. I just feel like we can end up listening to these people and completely ignoring our own intuition and what actually makes us thrive when it comes to diet and exercise. So what was my strategy when it came to bulking? So the reason I decided to bulk is because I'm naturally tall and slim and I find it very hard to build muscle. So my logic was I need to be in a significant surplus to actually build muscle as quickly as I want to. My goals were to add muscle all over my body, but particularly I wanted to add muscle to my legs and my glutes. I feel like I build muscle more easily on my top half, on my shoulders, my arms and my back. And I find it harder to build muscle on my lower body. So I wanted to focus on that area. So I didn't use a calorie counter. And the reason for that is because I've had an eating disorder in the past. So I'm a bit hesitant when it comes to tracking my food. So in order to bulk, I basically focused on having bigger meals. So eating the foods that I were eating previously, but just having bigger quantities and also hitting a certain amount of protein every day. So my goal was to hit 150 to 160 grams of protein a day. I worked that out with a calculation I found online. So per kilogram of body weight, you eat 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So when I started my bulk, I was about 70 to 71 kilograms. So ideally I should have eaten 140 grams of protein a day, but I upped it a bit to 150 to 160 max. So when I look back, there was a couple of things that I maybe did wrong when it came to bulking. Number one, I didn't use a calorie tracker. I feel like even though I was apprehensive to use a calorie tracker, it would probably have provided me with some helpful guidance rather than just looking on the back of the foods that I were eating and estimating how many calories I was eating and how much protein I was eating. Number two, like I said, I was aiming for 150 to 160 grams of protein a day. Maybe that should have been a bit lower. Maybe I should have just stuck to the 140 grams of protein and saved myself quite a few calories. I just feel like maybe I upped the calories a bit too quick. And number three, I later found out that calculation that I used, it's actually meant to be based on lean muscle mass. So I weighed 71 kilos and the calculation that I was using was that I was eating 2 grams of protein per kilo of my total body weight, when in reality it maybe should have been 2 grams of protein per kilo of lean muscle mass. So in fact, if I had gone by that calculation, my daily protein goal would have been a lot less. It might have been like 100 grams of protein because it would have been based on actual lean muscle mass and not just my whole body weight as a total. So when it came to the foods that I was eating every day when I was doing this bulk, I'm actually vegetarian. So I actually found it really hard to hit 150 grams of protein. So basically my day for my first meal, my breakfast, I was basically eating a whole tub of yogurt, 500 grams of yogurt, 400 to 500 grams of yogurt. That would provide me with about 40 grams of protein. I was eating Greek yogurt, 0% fat, and it was really sour and it's not the most delicious yogurt at all. So that was a bit rubbish. Then for my lunch, I was always having tofu and I was eating a block and a half of tofu for every lunchtime. That was quite a lot, and eating that much tofu is really boring. But a block and a half of tofu was providing me with about 45 to 50 grams of protein. So, breakfast and lunch combined, that was giving me 100 grams of protein. And then for my evening meal, I'd have something like a vegetarian chili. It would have beans in it, it would have tofu in it, and I'd also have protein powder. So I'd have a protein shake. So yeah, when you're a vegetarian, your main protein sources are protein powder, lentils, beans, tofu, eggs, yogurt. That's another thing. At lunchtime, if I wasn't having tofu, I was having eggs. But each egg only provides you with about 6 to 7 grams of protein. So I was having to have like 4 boiled eggs for my lunch to get like nearly 30 grams of protein. Having to eat these foods every day, I soon became super fed up with it. When it comes to like lentils, chickpeas, you would have to eat a large amount of chickpeas to get 40 grams worth of protein. And eating that much chickpeas in one sitting, that is going to really mess up your digestive system. Well, it did for me anyway. Eating that amount of like lentils and chickpeas, it made me super bloated. I'm sorry, too much information, but it made me super gassy. So that wasn't an option. To hit 150 grams of protein, I had to be eating 1.5 blocks worth of tofu a day, a tub of yogurt a day, and a scoop of vegan protein in a shake. And to be honest, the vegan and vegetarian protein, it really isn't very nice. And drinking the shake used to make me retch. If you're vegetarian and vegan, there's also the option to eat the fake meats. Sometimes they have quite high protein levels, but these fake meats, they're literally ultra processed foods. I want to base my diet around whole foods as much as possible. I don't want to be relying on these fake meats for my protein source. Then when it came to training, I was training my lower body twice a week and my upper body twice a week. I was going pretty heavy and doing probably on average about 10 to 12 reps per set. I was also doing minimal cardio, if any, and I had it in my head that some exercises were superior and that I needed to do them to get results. So for example, the barbell squat, I really hated doing the barbell squat. I just found it really uncomfortable. Sometimes it would make my lower back twinge and I just didn't like the movement. But from what I'd seen online, I felt like I had to incorporate that movement into my workout, even though I really didn't like it. So yeah, I felt like I had to include certain exercises. So deadlifts, barbell squats, these were things that I really didn't like doing. I questioned the connection that I was feeling in the muscle when I was doing these exercises. So when I was doing the deadlifts, I wasn't really feeling it in my glutes and my legs. I was feeling it in my lower back, but I was just doing them regardless because of what I'd heard online, that these exercises were superior when it came to training. So I did this bulk for a number of months and here are the results that I got. So I put on about 4 to 5 kilos. I was about 70 to 71 kilos when I started out and I ended up going up to 75.25 kgs. That is the heaviest I've been in my life. I looked and felt constantly bloated. My belly was constantly sticking out. I felt like all that weight had just gone straight to my belly. Some people that I see online who bulk, literally all the weight goes to their legs, their butt, and they have a flat belly still. But this wasn't the case with me. And I know this isn't the case with a lot of girls. I just felt like all that weight had gone to my belly. None of my clothes fit me anymore. Literally the only thing that I felt comfortable in, and this isn't exaggerating, and really the only thing that I ended up wearing was my joggers and my gym leggings. Jeans were out of the question. None of my jeans fit me anymore. They were digging into my belly. I could barely do up the button. And even dresses, like stretchy dresses, I literally looked pregnant in them. I even had a couple of people ask me if I was pregnant. And on a day-to-day basis, I was just feeling constantly hungry, tired, sluggish, lethargic. My motivation for the gym had just completely gone down the pan. Like, I couldn't really be bothered working out. I was doing my workouts, but it was an absolute chore. And from doing this bulk, I just ended up in a really bad space, physically and mentally. I was just feeling crap. So eventually it came to the point when I decided enough is enough. As I was doing this bulk, I was having thoughts coming into my head, and I feel like my intuition was speaking to me along the way. And it was saying stuff to me like, stop obsessing about this protein. Stop eating foods just for the protein when you don't enjoy them. This is no way to live. Stop doing exercises that you hate. My intuition was telling me that I could probably get better results if I stopped obsessing about protein, if I just did the exercises that I actually felt the most mind to muscle connection with, and I stopped eating as much food. I just had this feeling that I was trying to change myself to be something that I wasn't. I wanted to be curvy. I wanted to put on this muscle. I wanted to have a bigger bum and legs. But the reality of the situation is I'm pretty tall. So I'm 5'8.5". I'm 173 centimeters tall. And my body composition, I am long and slender. So I find it hard to put on muscle. I'm never going to be a curvy person. But yeah, I kept ignoring my intuition because I thought if I don't do these things, I'm going to lose progress. But then one day I looked in the mirror and I looked at myself and I looked so bloated. And I just felt so unhappy. I couldn't fit into any of my clothes. And in that moment, I just threw everything out the window. In my life, my intuition has always been right, and it's always guided me to the right place. And I thought, you know what? It's time that I start listening to it and start doing what it's telling me. So I'm going to throw everything out the window. When it comes to listening to people online, when it comes to bulking, I'm throwing everything out the window, and I'm actually going to align with what my intuition is telling me. Because when I looked in the mirror, there was no progress to lose anyway. I think I was absolutely deluded. If anything, I'd gone backwards when it came to how my body looked and how I felt mentally. So I'm going to put up on the screen now what I look like at the height of my bulking. I'm not saying that I look bad, but I felt really uncomfortable and I just couldn't fit in any of my clothes and I just didn't feel myself. I didn't feel good like this. So now I'm going to talk you through the 6 changes that I implemented to reverse this bulk, because I ended up going from looking like this to slimming down in a matter of months and looking like this. So the first change I made is listening to my body, and if I don't feel hungry, then I don't eat. If I want to skip a meal, then I will do. I really want to emphasize here, I've had an eating disorder in the past, and this is in no way about restricting myself. This is listening to my body. Side note, I still feel hungry a lot of the time, especially when I'm at work. So it's very rare that I would skip a meal. But say, for example, at the weekend, if I'm busy and I'm out and I don't have my lunch, it's not a big deal. Whereas before, I had this obsession that I had to have my 3 meals a day or I'd lose progress at the gym. The second change that I made is that I stopped obsessing about hitting a certain amount of protein, and I started just eating foods that I actually enjoyed, regardless of how much protein were in them. So now, hopefully, I'm probably still getting maybe 100 grams of protein a day. There's no way that I'm going to aim to hit 150 grams of protein a day. It is just not realistic. It's not enjoyable for me in any way to try and hit that target. But I probably aim for about 100 grams. But some days I probably come in below that. For example, my breakfast, I usually have yogurt in my breakfast. I have overnight oats, and I incorporate a scoop of vegan protein powder into those overnight oats. There's probably a decent amount of protein in that, but I do enjoy that meal. Then for my lunch, to be honest, it usually is something to do with eggs and tofu, but just not such a massive amount of these foods. So my lunch is now a lot more enjoyable, but to be honest, I do struggle with lunches to come up with different ideas. But say, for example, the last meal of the day, my dinner. So last week I had vegetarian risotto. What's in that risotto? Rice, butternut squash, sun-dried tomatoes, peas, onion, and a bit of cheese on the top. So as you can see from that, there's probably very little amounts of protein in that dish. But do you know what? I don't care. Obsessing about protein in every meal was literally just making my meals shit. I wasn't excited to eat my foods anymore. And honestly, trying to make every dish you eat have a high amount of protein, it can end up ruining a dish. So for example, that vegetarian risotto, if I wanted to get loads of protein into that dish, what would I have to do? Combine fake vegan meats into it, put tofu into it, put tons of beans or lentils into it. It's just going to completely ruin the dish. But now I'm just so much more flexible and I literally just don't care. I'd rather eat something that I actually enjoy. The third thing that I did was reduce my portion sizes. I will say I do sometimes stumble on this one because I have got a big appetite and sometimes my portions are probably too big still. But overall, I have reduced the amount of food that I eat to an extent. And honestly, I feel so much better for it. Constantly eating and feeling super full on that bulk, it was just not an enjoyable experience and I did not feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable in my clothes, but also my digestive system, feeling constantly gassy, feeling bloated. That was not enjoyable. The fourth thing that I've done is that I've reduced the amount of sugar that I consume. So when I was doing that bulk, I sort of fell into the mindset of thinking, oh, I can have that hot chocolate, I can have this sugary snack because I'm going to work it off at the gym. Because I'm bulking, I need the calories. But I think I'd fallen into the trap of eating a few too many sugary snacks a day, when in the past I never used to do that. And I find when I eat quite a lot of sugary stuff, it doesn't tend to make me feel a bit crap. It makes me feel lethargic. It gives me crashes. So now I try and just have a bit of dark chocolate in the evening. Honestly, especially in the week when I'm at work, that doesn't always work out because when I'm at work, I do tend to crave sugary stuff. Sometimes I'll have the chocolatey thing in the day instead of at the night because, to be honest, I usually crave it when I'm at work, then at night I can skip it. Or as an alternative to chocolate, I'll eat something naturally sweet. So like dates, Majul dates, I absolutely love them, especially with a bit of peanut butter. They're absolutely gorgeous. The fifth change that I made is that I stopped lifting so heavy. Honestly, lifting that heavy was just exhausting. I dread my session before I even started. Say, for example, I was doing glute thrusts, just setting up that barbell with all the plates. That was literally a workout in itself. And I feel like when you lift super heavy, you're increasing your chances of getting injured as well. And sometimes my lower back plays up on me. So I feel like I'm so much happier. My body is so grateful for me not punishing it with these super heavy weights because literally it was just relentless. You can still build the same amount of muscle with light weights as you can with heavy weights. You've just got to incorporate progressive overload in a different way. So instead of focusing on going heavier and heavier every week, focus on doing more reps or do paused reps or do slower reps. The sixth and final change that I made is that I stopped doing exercises that I really didn't enjoy. So I stopped doing stuff like the barbell squats, the deadlifts. I had it in my head from what I'd heard online that these exercises were superior and I felt this pressure that I had to do them, even though I hated them and even though they were probably pulling my lower back a bit. So I decided to stop doing this because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Now I focus on doing exercises where I feel the most mind to muscle connection. So now my leg days, instead of doing barbell squats, instead of doing deadlifts, I'll do variations of glute thrusts where I can really feel the burn in my glutes. I'll do stuff like Bulgarian split squats, I'll do lunges, and I'll do leg press. This has just helped my motivation so much. I find my workouts so much more enjoyable, and I've actually seen more progress, probably because I'm more focused and dedicated to the workout, and I'm actually concentrating on targeting the actual muscles that I want to grow. So after a couple of months of implementing these changes, I managed to slim down considerably. So I have dropped 6 kgs. I was 75 and now I'm 69 kilograms. I've lost about 4 inches around my belly. I can fit into all my wardrobe again. So my jeans are actually feeling a bit loose on me. They've got a comfortable baggy fit again, which I'm so happy about. I've got my motivation back when it comes to training. I'm just feeling so much more happier when it comes to my workout routine. I'm enjoying my training again. I'm not looking constantly bloated. I don't have people asking if I'm pregnant. And also, I'm enjoying my foods again. And it just feels so freeing to not feel so restricted and not having to feel like I'm having to abide to these rules that were just really not working for me at all. So guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. One thing I've realized, I'm not an athlete. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not training for a competition. So really, all I want to do is enjoy my foods, eat colorful, delicious, nutritious food, and move my body in a way that I enjoy. And the most profound thing that I've realized from all this experience is to listen to your intuition. Stop listening to people online who are trying to sell you stuff, who've probably won the genetic lottery. Stop listening to those people and tune in to your body. What do you enjoy eating? What foods fill you with energy? And how do you like to move your body? What feels fun? What exercises do you enjoy that motivate you to keep doing those exercises consistently? Another thing is just to be realistic about your body, your genetics, and work with what you've got. Work to your strengths. Stop trying to completely change yourself to be something you're not. Work with what you've been gifted with. Okay guys, thanks for listening. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.